What if you could take that risk, make that change, reach that goal, live your best life? Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast, where we get together with amazing experts and everyday people who share challenges, encourage healing, and explore the possibilities that life has to offer. I'm your host, Gary Scott, and I'm excited that you're along for the ride. Action. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of What If You Could. And today, I not only have a special young lady, but I have a brand new mommy.
Yeah.
So we get to chat today with Phoenix Sohl. And I'm just going to go ahead and read her bio real quick, kind of just give you a flavor about Phoenix and what she's doing and kind of why we're chatting. And then I'm just going to let Phoenix go and enlighten us with all her beauty and her wisdom. So, um, Phoenix Sohl is an American recording artist and entrepreneur from Atlanta, Georgia, known as the goddess of R&B. Phoenix crafts sonic environments and narratives that uplift her audience's mind, body, and soul. Recognized as one of Atlanta's next big stars to watch in the entertainment edition of Modern Luxury magazine and lauded by the LA Note for turning her dreams into reality. She has graced stages nationally and internationally in Europe, the UK, Japan, and across the United States. Beyond her musical endeavors, Phoenix is dedicated to health and wellness advocacy with a master's degree in transpersonal psychology and mastery in various energy medicine modalities. She actively engages with creative communities, facilitating healing experiences. Phoenix collaborates with organizations such as Lululemon and Kaiser Permanente for their youth empowerment series, where she leads discussions on positive self image, creativity, holistic wellness for women, teenagers, and young girls. Through her expertise and guidance, she empowers individuals to create joy, embrace health, and nurture spiritual well being that elevates the mind, body, and soul. And with all that amazing stuff, maybe our most recent amazing achievement is Baby Soul.
Yes.
So welcome, my friend. I'm so grateful to have you. I know you've been busy, and I know being a new mom takes up so much of your time, but I guess my first question would be, were you always musical? Were you one of those kids who danced around the house with the hairbrush singing, or were you
Oh,
always creative
absolutely.
that way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some of my first memories, were probably about the age of 3. And, I've always been in entertainment in some capacity. And at the age of 9, I started professionally acting and then kind of shifted into, just locking into the music realm. But absolutely, like it's in my family, it's in my blood. Everyone's super creative on both sides. So yeah.
That's what I was going to ask next is your family. So your family's creative, your family's musical. They kind of brought you in there with it was in the household and things like that.
Absolutely. On my mother's side, everyone is just immensely creative, from visual artists, a lot of visual artists, professional visual artists that are amazing. My uncles. My mom is super creative across the board. She can definitely, sing and hold a tune, but she's just a mastermind in so many ways. And she actually just went back to school for interior design. So everyone's so creative. On my dad's side, my last name is Parker. Soul is my stage name, my stage surname. So my last name is Parker, and one of our like most famous cousins is Maceo Parker, who played with James Brown. So everyone's like just super creative and talented across the board.
And it also sounds like you. I mean, they don't stop learning. They don't stop growing. Your family's kind of, now she's going into interior design. It's like they keep evolving, keep learning, keep growing, right?
Oh, for certain. Just coming from a military background, my dad was in the Air Force. And he's always like I've just always seen him like invest in himself and invest in growth and growing the minds. My grandma had daycares, all of our life. So like learning, education is just rooted in like who we are and what we love. Like it's so many new places to see, it's so many things to learn. Like you can't stop. Like it's a beautiful world out here.
Well, and you've seen so much of it, right? I mean, with your travels, with your entertainment, with your teaching and stuff. I mean, when did you start? I know you started music early, but when did you start saying, I might make this as a profession? I'm gonna take this and go with it.
I mean, well, again, like my parents supported me in acting at 9. So I was already, creating revenue and generating, but one thing that they were very adamant about is like, okay, you can be, a face on the front end, but on the back end, you also need to know your business. My uncle, he just came over yesterday to meet Soul, and like, I don't remember how that was. I think it was 8. It was either 8 or 9. He said, let me tell you something. This is going to be the best advice I ever give you. And it has been to this day. He said, always get a contract. And that's the best advice I've ever gotten in my life. So everyone's kind of always encouraged, my artistry and for me to grow in every facet, like both in the creative side, but then also in the business side, in the education of it.
Yeah, because remember, when someone says, trust me, don't.
Exactly. And it's business, it's
It's
show
business.
business.
It's
So
business.
we need to have that kind of mindset. Like, yeah, we can have a great time and we can have fun, but let's handle the business up front and then we can have a great time after that.
We can take it anywhere you want, but first let's get the parameters straight. Who does what, where, and how, and where does the money go? Right? Because I
Exactly.
don't care. You can be family, friends, the best friends. You can be married. You can be blood relatives. Money, money will mess things up, right? So, I mean, if you don't get that straight, things can go sideways. And I love
Absolutely.
you. Don't get me wrong. I love you. It's not personal. It's business, right? And so that
Exactly.
was very good advice. You and I have both seen nightmares of people who trusted friends, advisors, and
Exactly,
you can't
exactly.
do it.
And it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't if we can just have these conversations up front, walk up front, I encourage like communication across the board. Let's just iron it all out and I think we can't be afraid to speak on the challenging stuff. Like
Yeah.
let's talk about it and then we can have fun all day long.
You do a lot. I'm squirreling because I always do, so I'm way off notes. But that's how our conversations go, right?
Sure.
You're big in women empowerment, and
Yeah.
so I would imagine, with contracts and talking to women about that and saying, "Listen, I don't care who they are or what they are. You're just as empowered, and you are just as strong as they are.
Yeah.
Do not set yourself aside or do not be intimidated because you have every power, every right that they do, right? So I'm sure you take some of your experiences and when you're doing the talking to these young women.
Almost definitely. I not long ago, prior to delivering the baby, had a podcast conversation, and we were talking about women in show business, and that can look a number of different ways. Like either you feel empowered within yourself to have these conversations and to drive and bring these forwards, or you have representation. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that as you continue to ascend, like the difference between the king and the regular man is just proximity. So at some point you're going to need representation to speak on your behalf, but at the end of the day, as long as those things are covered, but however you get it done, just get it done.
Exactly. Exactly. So what's your favorite part? of the music business? Is it obviously the performing in front of people has got to be a huge rush, but I mean, is it the writing? Is it the producing? Is it directing? Is it the business side? I mean, because you do it all, right?
For sure. I love and it's not just about the music, but I love the process of taking an idea and making it a reality. That's turning nothing into something. So across the board, like, okay, we have these ideas, but like, let's make them a reality. That's my favorite part of anything, is just like creation,
Yeah.
and then the distribution is a whole another aspect. But that is what just juices me, because it's like, wow, like we did this.
Yeah, and you push the envelope on what you're doing. I mean, when I'm listening to your music and I'm seeing where you go with it and reading about what you've done with your music and stuff like that, it's like you're pushing the boundaries of your own. This is Phoenix's music, right? This is what I'm
Yeah.
bringing. I'm not trying to do something else, or I'm not trying to implement someone else. You're bringing your own stuff.
You got to. Any artist that was great brought something new to the equation. You know what I mean? Like we can't tell anybody else's story. We can only tell our own and be vulnerable in that. So, I'm doing like a 30-day kind of challenge detoxing, being a new mom and just kind of reintegrating things. I wrote down my values, and I have 6 core values, and one of them is growth. And like, it was about me, in this space, sitting down, identifying where I am and like what it is that I need to do, who it is I need to be in order to grow and accomplish my goals for the next 30 days. So I think that that's something that we, as human beings, like, have to continue to assess, like, where am I and how am I continuing to push the envelope for myself, because there's no competition out here. The
Yeah.
only competition is us and who we were yesterday. So who am I going to be today? And how am I going to make the change that I need to make to be the person I want to be for myself?
Yeah. Yeah. And I read I can't remember the magazine. I should have wrote it down because I wrote the notes, but I read this magazine. You did an interview and you talked about three qualities that were important to you. And we all evolve and we all change and things like that. But at that time, you said resilience, adaptability, and continuous learning were three
Mm,
very big. And with the resilience, the adaptability, and the continuous learning, we kind of talked about that. Your family, boy, they don't, no moss grows on those stones. They're always moving. But that resilience, I would imagine, in your business and the adaptability, I mean, you got to be tough. The music
gotta be
industry
tough.
is not, it's, it's, it's not a game. I mean, it's a serious deal, the music industry.
For sure. I mean, I really think, any industry, it doesn't matter what you're up against. We're all up against some sort of adversity. And we have to learn how to bounce back. I don't remember where the information came from. I believe it was my therapist, Dr. David. We had a conversation about how long does it take you to bounce back from something? And I think that that goes back to growth. We may encounter a situation, with somebody, whether it's business or personal, and it may take us initially a month to bounce back, then after that, if we encounter that situation again, it may take 2 weeks to bounce back, and we encounter it again, and then it's a day. But at the end of the day, like, you can see your growth, and you can see your ability to be like, okay, I remember that's happened to me before, but I'm not going to allow, myself to sit in this. I'm going to bounce. It's like a rubber band. I'm going to bounce back. And I think that's what resiliency is. We all take hits, but how long are you going to stay there? And that is the difference between like the good and the great. Is like, okay, I experienced it, but I can't stay there. I've got to use that energy to propel me to whatever is next.
Yeah. Yeah. You nailed, did he put you on the whiteboard?
Oh man, yes. I
Dr.
love
David and the
those whiteboard
whiteboard.
sessions, boy. Yes, buddy. Those whiteboard sessions are everything.
He's been wanting to toss me on the whiteboard, and I've been a little bit scared. I don't think I'm up for it now. But you talk about these things. Now, my wife passed away from cancer, my first wife, 10 years ago. And so through that 10 years, it's like, I got it, I got it, I got it. I'm getting there. Ah, that shoot, boom. You know what I mean? And then, no, I got it. Like you said, I see them coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a scuba diver, and there's these things
Mm.
in the water called thermoclimbs. And the thermoclimbs are, you could be here at 35 feet and it's 60 degrees or 70 degrees, right? And then you see this like jelly like thing in the water. You're like, uh-oh. And you drop into that, it drops like 10 degrees in temperature,
Wow.
the thermocline. But it's a trip because when you dive in tropical waters like the Caribbean and stuff, you can see them because it's like oil and water, right? It's a trip. So as I'm going through these tragedies of life, right? I see the thermoclines like you're talking about, right? You see it and you're like,
Yes.
I've been there. I know,
Yes.
I know what's coming. If I could just not do the same thing. But we do.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And I mean, I think that's the beauty of being human. And awareness is the first step to change. So
Yeah.
like awareness is the gift to me. Like just the fact that I may have done the same thing for 5 years, but if I can sit here and see that I'm about to do the same thing, then I can make a difference. Like I can make the shift, right? I see
Yeah.
the thermal climb. I know that it's there. So I can, you know what I mean? I can do whatever it is I need to do in that situation to find the comfort. But it's in the perpetual like habitual habits that we don't see
Yeah.
that is a challenge. So really it's like there's no new learning that's happening here. It's really just unlearning.
I love how you will challenge yourself and you'll make some big moves. I mean, you were telling me, and I had to laugh about it. You're going, I needed to change, and I was looking for like different peace, so I moved to New York City. And I remember going, do you
Right.
know where you moved for peace? But I
Ah,
do get the energy. I love New York City for the energy, right? I mean,
yeah,
there's very few places on the planet where you walk into and you feel it. And for
yeah,
you being so creative, I can imagine at that time being in New York, fired that up, right?
for sure. Like for me, like, peace is not an exterior thing. It's interior calm. It's inner calm within self. And so, as a creative person, you need inspiration. You need these outlets, and to channel this energy. Otherwise, you'll sit and combust. So, moving to New York was so inspiring. It's so uplifting. It's moving so fast that I had the circuitry to like get these ideas out. I had the community to support these ideas. And that brought such a inner peace because I'm an inner calm because I'm properly facilitating and channeling my energy. I went to Puerto Rico and it's extreme calm. I didn't realize just how fast I was moving until I got there and literally like for the first week I was like buzzing, like literally my coming from New York. So I was like, whoa, like I'm buzzing literally in my body. But after a while being there, I was like, I couldn't be here year round because I need movement. So it's great to have that balance of like, you go somewhere, you experience the calm of the environment and allow it to wash over you and balance out your energy. But I like movement. Where do you create and curate? And what's your tempo? I think
Mhm.
that's huge too. Like everybody has a tempo. And as a musician, like this was a big awareness to me. I was creating a lot of like slower music and it just didn't feed me after a while because my tempo is naturally like there's movement there. I'm out in the world. I like to see the color, the lights, eat good foods, meet new people, talk to people. I come back home and I relax and I chill, but my tempo is like, it's mid to up tempo. So you got to know like what your tempo is and lock into an environment that fits you
Yeah.
there.
Do we still call it biorhythms? Do we still call remember biorhythms? We used to talk about our biorhythms and how you could put us on a scanner type of thing. It'll show you different colors inside your body, all the different blue, yellow,
Mm,
red type like that. That was your biorhythms. And just some people are hot, like I
yeah.
run really hot. There's not a lot of
Mm,
blue in me, there's
for
there's a lot
sure.
of red, right? Because I'm like that. And that's why some people you can throw them in New York City and they will just shrivel up and die. I mean, you've got to get them out of there, right? And then other people like you and me, we'll get in New York City and we'll just be going, oh, oh, bring it, right? Because that vibe, I can feel this energy. I'm juicing off this energy. And other people like, whoa, that's just too much. I've got some friends that are Virgo empaths. They couldn't even go near New York City. They'd melt down because the energy, right? They absorb too much.
Word, that's so real. Like that makes me want to look at myself. Like my biorhythm is on my heart because it's so real. Like I need electricity. I'm a Phoenix, right? I
Yeah.
was my dad's a Leo, my mom's a Sagittarius. It's just fire energy. You know what I
And
mean? So
what and what are you?
I'm a Libra.
Okay, so you got that whole, oh yeah. See, Leo, your mom's a Leo and your dad's a Saggy?
Other
Oh,
way,
oh, the other way around. They had to be, that is tight. Leos and Saggies are tight. That's a great fire mix. But there could be too much fire.
but that energy juices me. And so, like you said, in New York, being in environments where there's, that's how I thrive.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. When did you find that spirituality? I know you started the music early and the acting early and stuff like that, but when did all of a sudden you just start going, wow, I'm feeling kind of this deeper sort of thing, this spirituality, this healing, this calling. When did that kind of start coming out of you?
I've always been connected in that way, in ways that I did not really understand. My grandmother was very spiritual and had a lot of dreams and was like a seer. And my mom is not so spiritual, but is definitely like a visionary. So, you know what I mean? Like, I call myself a spiritual sightseer because I had to create my own language for things by stepping out into the world and seeing what was out there. Because I didn't have a language for it. And I didn't have a true understanding outside of like maybe, traditional like Christianity, which, my grandmother was locked into, but and then visions and intuition, but I had to get out here in the world and figure out what it was. And that was kind of a scary thing, but then also a lot of fun in the same token.
Yeah, I have she's become a friend of mine now, and went back and forth for about a year. She does breath work, and I was scared. She kept saying, Gary, you got to get in here and do this. You got to get in here and do this. I'm like, Susan, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Anyway, you can see her. She was just on the podcast we put out there. So I did it, and
Yeah,
I mean, she said you're going to vibrate. And I said, come on, dude. And then she gives us, I'm thinking it's going to be all this woo woo music, right? Spiritual music, which I love. Don't get me wrong. I love meditation music. I love Zen music. So I anticipated that, right? So she reads the playlist. It's Aretha Franklin. It's Elton John. It's Tom Petty. I'm like,
I love
come
it.
on, man. That's not holistic stuff, right? She takes us deep. She puts on the headphones. She starts with the drum music. I get goosebumps. If I start crying, I'm sorry, but it just brings out these emotions, right? And she just starts playing this Aretha. And then she just brings that soul, right? And you can just feel it in you. And then she brings some Elton John and some Tom Petty and some other stuff. And then she's talking to you and your stuff. And I'll tell you what, it's talk about going into that healing and that spirituality and that deepness. She takes you deep. It's crazy. So I've always been spiritual like that, but I've always just been on the edge. You know what I mean? I was afraid to go in there. And she took me deep. So when you're doing your stuff, it's like peace, right? Your book, Be Your Own Peace. That's that's the epic title for me. How did you come up with that title?
Meditation.
Meditate.
Mhm.
I love it.
Yeah, dreams are usually how I get ideas. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna dream it up. And I literally just like relax and allow whatever wants to come through, and then wake up and create it, you know? So was going to Dr. David, and he's like, you gotta start, you gotta start writing a book. You gotta start putting some things in motion. And I was like, yeah, I do. I felt that too. And at the time I had an accountability partner, amazing, amazing. Shout out to Malad. And she was like, okay, we're gonna do this, and this is how you're gonna do it. Because I can take things and make them a big deal, but like we're not gonna do analysis paralysis, right? We're just gonna sit down every day for 30 minutes, turn the TV on if you need to, get some music going, and just write. And every day I wrote something. And after a period of time, it was a compilation, and I really loved it. And I was like, okay, this is great. Um, at the time, I was experiencing a lot, and I was living that. I was doing that. Like I was being my own peace amidst the chaos. So I'm like, what is this going to be called? And we meditated, and then that came through, and I was like, that is so perfect because
It is perfect. Yeah.
it's that in this world, you know?
Well, because people ask me, I mean, that is my go-to. When people say, dude, what do you want? What do you want? People want money, people want happiness. And I always say, I want peace. I just want peace. And peace to me encompasses everything. It means your money's good. It means your family's good. It means your health is good. It means people are good. The world's good. Peace to me just means things are right. Things are good. You know what I mean? And that's when I saw that, be your own peace, I'm like, man, that's my word right there. I love that.
I love that. That makes me smile.
Thanks again for joining us on another episode of What If You Could podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and give us any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. See you next time.